I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. It means so much to me. Wow, this is so hard. When we first got together, it wasn't quite love at first sight. It took a lot of work, and over the years our relationship grew until it was we were inseparable. You guys know that. I really didn't think things were gonna end so suddenly. I can't believe I'm here. Back at square one again. But I know it's time to let go. Don't cry, Auntie. It's okay. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Oh yes, I'll be fine. We'll all be fine. I'm Takumbudzi, a writer in Melbourne working on what feels like 1,000 stories at the same time. And what I've been really thinking about is what happens when what you've written has changed. It started one way and then you sat on it for a day or 2 or 312. What happens when you've developed characters lovingly and gotten to know them, and then suddenly, after time away from them, you come back and you've changed? Now you're looking at them differently. I mean, are they even the same people? Is what they're doing any different? Are they still wanting the same things in life? Are you? Welcome to Two Words with Taku, a show for writers who are tired of hearing the same sorts of stories told about them and who want to write new things for themselves. Today's 2 words are same, same. And in this episode, we explore how do we know when a story is dead and it's time to write a new one.
The way I really approach things, I never would have really looked at it from the point of view of putting it all structured. It's more like the story just goes.
By day, Sydney-based Brighton Mutombeni works in construction, and by night he's a prolific writer. He recently self-published a novel called Wanja, and the dedication in the book gets me every time. It says, "Tinashe, my princess, you can be anything that you want to be." In our monthly community catch-ups for this podcast, we've got a little writing group. Brighton has mentioned an interest in screenwriting and getting into the film industry. So last week, I gave him a writing challenge. I said to him, why don't you write a logline synopsis and treatment for your novel, reimagining it as a film? I sent him a couple of templates that I've been using, and now I'm really curious to hear how he went. So here's me chatting to Brighton about this whole process. How did you find the experience of, looking at your book or the story that's you've written as a novel, and now looking at it with the eyes of turning it into a screen project?
I was dreading doing that, to be honest. But when I actually got into it, I was surprised because, like, when I normally do my writing, like of a story, it's more like it's sort of partially planned and partially on the go. You know, it's more like off the seat of your pants, whatever, just writing as you go, but sort of with an idea of a direction in mind. But when I was not doing it this way, it really, for me, it structured it more, and I start to understand, like, even like, you know, with especially with the acts, like how the story stands, like the points of inflection in the story, what are the, like, breaking it down into the segments, and it makes more sense, and it that I actually see that this is how it should be done. I get why this is how it's done this way now. Like, I wouldn't have thought that, because I would have preferred, like, oh man, that must be difficult to sit down and just lay out the acts and all, but it makes so much sense, and it makes your life easier going forward. I really understand, you know, when you say, like, no, at least you can present a treatment, and from there you can start talking to someone, because you really, your story is there. And like you're saying, when you get that, whenever someone can look at it and then ask questions or this, that, it's a lot easier because you have the overview of the story. And in terms of the actual writing of it, once you have the treatment, I think the writing of the story, it writes itself in a sense. So yeah, that's really how I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so wonderful to hear because I did get that sense as well. Um, and so, would you be willing to share the log line that you wrote for this little bit, this little challenge that you had? Would you be happy to share the
Yeah,
log line with
sure.
us?
Here goes the log line for, and it's called Wanja, the story. The log line is: somewhere in the African savannah, a chief's daughter fights for her rightful place in a patriarchal society. She then has to defend her village from an evil outsider claiming his right to the throne. So, yeah, that's it. Two short, sharp sentences, and I hope that gives an idea of what's to come.
It's so good. I loved it. Like it's a whole art to write log lines anyway. So I think once we're with the group, we'll probably go through that and stuff. And I'm sure you've seen online there's different
Yeah,
ways you
yeah.
can write them. But I think in terms of just capturing really quickly what the story is about, I think it's really good. Like you get a sense of already patriarchal society, this girl who wants to be chief, or just those struggles. So straight away, just seeing that, I'm really excited to see how the group will respond to it as well. And suddenly going, whoa, you're just throwing us into a completely new world. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, what did you learn about your characters as you did this challenge of turning, or at least this challenge of writing the treatment?
Well, for me, what came out was, I think, two things sort of like, or at least let me say, I see it in two ways. The one thing that I like learning was more of the motivations of the characters. That is, and I think that's something because I think the motivation informs how you write about each character. Like whenever they're involved in a scene or whatever, you then get the sense, like, okay, this character, this is what they're about, this is what is driving them. So this is how they would be always influencing the story, or this is their bias that is being added to the other character mix. And I think the other element was because once you're seeing the motivation, you then start looking at the character, like the character arc, like when the character enters the story, what are they like, or where do we find them, and through the story, what is their journey given their motivations, how are they moving, and is eventually at the end of the story, where are they in a different place, and hopefully if it is a story we're telling, they should be in a different place, I imagine. So have they moved, have they, and the movement does not necessarily have to be a progression. It could be moving backwards. They could be worse off than they started. They could be better off. But yeah, there should be some kind of movement. So that motivation and how the character moves through the story and how they progress that character. So I think those are the things that really came out from focusing on the characters and looking at that. Yeah.
Ah, gosh, I don't know. I always find it so exciting to talk to people about this kind of stuff because it's so specific. If you're talking to your partner or your wife about this stuff, they're like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
all right, yeah, yeah, yeah."
totally.
Whereas
I don't even bother
I
with my wife.
don't say,
Yeah.
I know. Same
Yeah.
with my dude. I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm writing another story.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I hear what you're saying because even when I was reading your character
mhm.
bios, again, now I got a sharper sense of what these characters are about. It was just so nice because, when you're reading a novel, it actually takes you the time to
Yeah.
figure out
Yeah.
some of those things. Whereas now you just, you have these little bios and it's less sharp, sharp, sharp. Okay, okay. Now we know where everybody's at. And then you read the rest of the meaty bits and it's like, oh, this is so good. And that's just the treatment. You haven't even started thinking about
Yeah.
the script and all this other stuff. So what they normally say is, people work on their treatments, the synopsis, all that
Mhm.
stuff before they even get to writing the story. Because if you can nut it out in this format, which is more like
Yeah.
short story, I
It
guess it's
is.
like the
It
short
is.
story
It
version
is
of your
really. Yeah.
film. If you can really make that clear, people can understand it. There's still a bit of mystery and, things that are going to be compelling or interesting to people, then yeah, you hope that that makes it a bit easier, the other side when you come to write the
Definitely.
script. Um, So how are you feeling about your novel now?
I think I should rewrite it.
Oh,
I think as it stood, because like I said, when you're looking at it from this, because like I said, the way I really approach things, I never would have really looked at it from the point of view of putting it all structured. It's more like the story just goes, like you just, it's almost
hmm,
like you're just writing it as it comes to you. And it should just,
yes.
the difficulty with that is like, because the story wasn't, even the book wasn't too big a book, and maybe it was manageable, but I did have an experience with a previous book where the story was so big that halfway through it, you having trouble, trying to remember where everything fits in. And you realize then having all
Mm,
of these things structured in place makes it so much easier to just keep flowing. Because, having the whole concept in your mind at all times, and the more detail you get into it. So, yeah, I think the novel as it stood was okay, but I think it could be a lot better. A lot more could go into it, but it is what it is.
yeah, that's so wonderful and exciting to hear. I was secretly hoping you'd say that because that's now what I've been finding is when you're writing a book or a novel and then you're also screenwriting, there's some overlaps in terms of how you develop the characters. So I think that's what's really coming out of what you said before is the characters, like what do they want? What's motivating them? Where are they going? What's their arc? And when you look at it from this format that you were using, in a way, when you look back at your novel now, you're like, oh yeah, so how did I write that? How was I making that clear? And even their dialogue, how was it pointing towards where they're going or growing? And so when you're saying this, I'm not excited for you to rewrite it because I think, oh my gosh, it's a bad book. You should rewrite it. No, I'm excited because then I know the joy of the rewriting process because now you're just going to have so much more to input into that and how you weave it all
Yeah,
together, which is exciting because then, you know, it becomes a
that's
better
true. Yeah.
story and one that, you know, that you're happy with as well. So, yeah, amazing. And so, in terms of getting feedback from the group, how do you think their feedback will help you now?
I'm really hoping, well, because it's a reasonably sized group, so I'm hoping for a lot of different perspectives, because I think those perspectives can really, like, someone will say, okay, but maybe on this particular character, what's going on here, or this motivation, or this doesn't particularly make sense, because I think it will add to the depth of the characters and the structure of the story, and maybe even the detail that I can put into it. Like, because I'm sure there are a lot of blind spots with the way I'm looking at it. So I'm hoping, fresh eyes, someone who's got nothing to do with the scene for the first time, like, oh, okay, but why is this happening, or why isn't this like this, or what about this? Those are the kinds of things I'm hoping to get back and say, oh, okay, what do you think about doing this, or what do you think about this, or why is this not there, or why is this there? And then I can, say, oh, okay, I'm looking at it and say, oh, no, maybe this needs to be clearer, or this needs to be out, or I need to add this to in that kind of thing. That's what I'm hoping to get.
Yeah, that sounds great. I feel like we've got such a generous group of people that I think they will give you kind, honest, constructive feedback. And I also really like that you're so open to receiving that. Not everybody is. And and you
I
know
can't wait for it.
yeah, yeah. And you know, it's so interesting how even reading your work, I'm also learning from it. And it's hard to explain, but it's like, wow, like you just you've written it in a way that I didn't expect, or there's things that are now jumping out at me that maybe I didn't pick up in the book. And so it's also really, really helpful as well to be sharing work. And yeah, I'm really grateful to you for doing that. So thank you very much. And we'll definitely catch up with you in the next couple of weeks to hear more about this
Sure, great.
story.
No, thank you for everything, for having me on your program, and for, yeah, just helping out with the group and all that. Really appreciate it.
Ah, pleasure. Thanks,
Thanks, Greg.
Brighton. What if something you've already put out in the world is the first draft of the final story? What if that story, that song, that play isn't quite done yet? What if that poem should be a book, or that song a screenplay, or that film script a simple love letter to that person, you know who? How can we breathe new life into the essence of what we want to say? And that's this episode for today. Same, same. Same, same, but different. Same, same, but better. Same, same. Thanks for listening, and you can find more of these stories, more episodes, and more about me and my work at taku.com.au. Bye!